Completely crazy? I agree. Ooh, now I got to start me saying the phrase completely crazy.
I'm not
Tuesday, September, stop talking about how crazy you are. September 26th, regular class. Talking about how some people are just completely crazy, or just partially crazy. As long as you're some level of crazy, it's okay. Book report is due in 8 days from today, which is a week from tomorrow. You guys will freak out. Your quiz story is called Zoo, which is already on my website to help you out configure. Your bell work is going to be called Fall Break Fun. Fall Break is not for another 2.5 weeks, but I had to have a subject. That's what I ended up choosing for this one. Speaking of torturing kids, Ian, did you find out where the small world thing was? Go me, I have skills. And your sentences for today, there are 2 of them. That's kind of crooked. Uncrooked. There we go. Be focused. Says, Jeepers, I cannot wait until fall break. But I will miss torturing my special students. Some of you more special than others. Some of you I will miss torturing a bit more than others. We're going to do this as a class. Here's how it works. I will go through and do each word bit by bit. I will have you just say out loud what you think it is. As long as we are all in agreement, then there's no impact. If we have disagreement, that's where the impact comes in. But I need more than just like one smart kid saying it out loud. You're going to have to go with what your voice says. So we'll see how it happens.
How about 2 smart
Good
kids?
luck. We have Jeepers, I cannot wait until fall break. So take a look at yours. Once again, change them. If there are mistakes, we can try to help you out. Jeepers, what part of speech?
Interjection.
See, you all did it together. No worries,
Interjection.
that happened. I. By the way, Jeepers, that's pink because I ran out of colors, so it's not red. I had a kid go, that's not red. So that's pink. That's the closest I can get. All right. Can. Let's try it again. Hang on. Can. Now, the next word is also in last week's. I used the same word 2 weeks in a row. So we're going to see how well you can figure it out from there. You want to know if I'm going to yell at Ian because he's not doing my bell work? Probably, which is why he has my bell work open in front of him. I know. We have like 12 things to do all at once, but make sure my bell work is done now, and then you can go back and do the missing things for the later torturing.
Adverb. Your colors are off, like the greens.
Because my first period kids complained that they couldn't see what the numbers were because it was that color green. So I just changed the green up there so it would...
There's some complainers.
I know. Those first period kids, you're the worst. Alright. Not!
Adverb!
Good job.
Riverside students.
Wait! Stop. Make me get... Good job. You irritated me. You win. Alright, next up. Until. We'll try it. Hang on. Ooh. We'll try it all together. Until. Preposition is correct. Fall.
Yes.
I actually got
Break.
it right.
Alright, not bad. So that is your first sentence. Now we'll go down to the second one. But I will miss torturing my special students. By the way, for those of you who are playing the home game, what you should do now is hit the little pause button down there and then try doing it on your own instead of just having me cheat and give you all the answers. This way it makes you smarter. Unless you're just going to commit to being an idiot, then it's your own choice. Well, that's weird, me talking about idiots and the kids start talking out loud. Next up. But I will miss torturing my special students. But is?
Conjunction.
I tried throwing you off by putting it at the beginning of a sentence, but it's still a conjunction. I
Pronoun.
will miss torturing my
Pronoun.
We have a difference. Try it again. Look at, double check yours. Make sure you think you know what it is. Double check your numbers up there to make sure things match up. And then we'll have you say it again. We'll see if we're in the same pattern. Alright. So, what is my?
There's only one pronoun.
Wait. Yeah. So let's try it again. What'd you say it was?
Adjective.
Now we're all together.
Wait, Mr. Brovicast, you have to undo your smacky thing.
No, because I had one kid still saying pronoun loudly.
Who said pronoun?
Shh, don't you point fingers. We do not do accusing fingers. One pointed forward, and like 12 are pointing back at you because you're a weird hand thing. And then,
I don't know what you're talking.
see, toes. Special. We'll try it again. Special.
Good.
Students. Alright. If you did my homework and you have paid attention there, we're done with the notebook and writing utensils. If you owe me homework still, don't put your notebook away. You should probably be doing the homework now, because if you don't have my homework tomorrow, that's where the whole making you stand thing comes in. You can go back to my website yesterday, website, look up the different questions, and I'll be out from there. The rest of you who have actually done it and cleared everything else off except for your iPad, here's where you're going to use your iPad to go to today's story so we can get into the fun stuff.
What's this called?
Make sure you download it, save it somewhere. It's going to be called The Necklace because it's about a necklace.
Oh, I gotta see mine. I don't.
So far, it's proven to be a fairly entertaining story. We'll see how it goes. Stop shushing or doing what you're supposed to. Do you not have an iPad? So you need one from me. So you're going to give me a shoe and a couple of B points and we'll hook you up. Alright, one special kid. Just being excited about me torturing you.
I'm always special. Like,
One
you could make the
paper
NBA
iPad.
with that shot. You should try out.
Yeah, the No Balling Association. Alright.
I
thought you played basketball.
Hey, Kay.
I can't find the story. I found
Boy.
it. Where is it? It's way down there.
Are we good now?
Actually. I thought we were reading the cheerleaders one.
Nope, not today. That's later. Alright, with our stories, we get into it. On our Short Story Mountain, what is the first part of Short Story Mountain?
Oh. Exposition.
Exposition. That's where we find out all the boring beginning background stuff. On this one, that does have a wee bit of boring beginning stuff. But I'm sorry, back up. I thought it was boring beginning stuff, but apparently my kids were like, it wasn't that boring at all. I was like, apparently we have different standards. It's going to be describing a particular character. The reason why is this character is going to make a choice in the story that is going to make you want to table flip. And to make you get all ragey, like, Mr. Brovicast, why? Why would they do that? Ah! Smashy. So they have to give you an explanation for what her thinking is. So it has this long introduction explaining this person's thinking. So figure out who she is and figure out your opinion of what kind of person she is. I'm reading it. You just have to listen and think. The thinking is the tough part. Yes. What's up, Toe Taps?
Oh, okay. Alright, is this one of those stories where like it says the end at the end and it's like a terrible ending?
No, this has a real ending.
Oh,
I just didn't give you the whole story. Because I don't want you guys to try and read ahead of a bunch of
It says
cheaters.
the end right there.
Yeah, no, part one.
Fake.
No, I know. Because once again, I don't trust kids.
Last one.
The Necklace. Matilda Loisel was one of those beautiful and charming girls born into a family of poor and ugly people. She had no chance of getting a marriage proposal from a wealthy and attractive man, no expectations, no means of becoming popular, understood, or even loved. And she let herself get married off to a little office worker in the government office of education. Her tastes were simple, because she'd never been able to afford anything else. But she was as unhappy as though she had married someone beneath her. For women have no taste or class, their beauty, grace, and charm serving them for birth or family. Their beauty and sense of humor are their only chance of ever being popular. And it put this slum girl on a level with the highest lady in the land. Matilda suffered endlessly, feeling herself born for every rich toy and luxury. She suffered from the poorness of her house, from its bare walls, worn chairs, and ugly curtains. All of these things, of which other women of her social class had not even been aware, tormented and insulted her. The sight of the little servant girl who came to do the work in her little house aroused heartbroken regrets and hopeless dreams in her mind. She imagined silent dining rooms, radiant with ancient paintings, lit by bright lamps and gleaming bronze sockets. She imagined huge entertainment rooms hung with magnificent artifacts, wondrous pieces of furniture supporting priceless ornaments, and small, charming, perfumed rooms created just for little parties of close friends. Men who are famous and sought after, whose very fame aroused every other woman's envious thoughts. When she sat down for dinner at the round table, covered with a dirty tablecloth, opposite her husband, she exclaimed delightedly, "Aha! Cheap chicken broth! What could be better?" She imagined delicate meals, gleaming silverware, glorious paintings covering the walls with folk of a great age, and strange birds and fairy forests. She imagined delicate food served in marvelous dishes, murmured pleasant conversations, listened to with a careful smile as one fiddled with the rosy flesh of trout or wings of asparagus chicken. She had no fancy clothes, no expensive jewels, nothing. And these were the only things she loved. She felt she was made for them. She had longed so eagerly to charm, to be desired, to be wildly attractive and sought after. She had a rich friend, an old school friend whom she refused to visit because she was so incredibly unhappy when she returned home. She would weep for entire days with grief, regret, despair, and misery. Good job hiding the second shoe so I couldn't get to it. I figured how long it took you to learn that. So we have a main character. Who's our main character in the story? Matilda. So in your own words, what can you tell me about Matilda? Because the whole intro was to tell us all about her, so you know a lot about her because of a choice she's going to make. Braddy? She is definitely poor. I would agree with that part. Oh, no, we'll wait for that. Cheeky?
She wishes to be rich.
And she's a poor person who definitely would much rather be rich. Dylan?
Oh yeah, I remember. She marries somebody that's poorer than her.
She'd marry someone who's not poorer, but just as poor. But she considers that being almost worse because she thinks that she should be married to someone else. Zoe?
She has a friend, but she doesn't really like her because she's rich.
And it makes her feel bad about herself. Tony?
I guess she's hot.
She is. And so she was considered very attractive.
Very
And so, does she come from a family of attractives or hot?
No,
Oh,
she comes to people with uglies.
So, her problem is that she comes from a family of poor uggos, and she is incredibly good-looking and incredibly witty and outgoing. So she thinks it's unfair that she comes from this world of poverty, when her then she's like, come on, look at this, look at you, this doesn't belong with that. And that's where she gets all upset, because she's like, anyone this attractive should not have to suffer like this, so it makes her really, really upset. Yeah?
No.
My next question, by a show of hands, is she a good or bad person? That's, now, I know, Mr. Brovicast, good, I know. Just in your opinion, from what we know so far, because things are going to be changing soon, is she good or bad? So raise your hand if you say, overall, given that, she's still a good person. Raise your hand.
Good.
All right. Raise your hand and say, given all that, I think already she's a bad person. All right. Just curious to see where you were. We'll see if your hands change as she starts making more decisions in our story. Now, we get to the fun stuff. One evening, her husband came home with an excited air, holding a large envelope in his hand. Here's something for you, he said. Swiftly, she tore the paper and drew out a printed card on which were these words. Please answer the phone. It is ringing. How odd it happens in the story at the same time.
The Minister of Education. That sounds like something from Harry Potter.
This is where they have some clowns carrying balloons. Going to be turning card.
Oh no!
Was that an It reference?
Yeah.
Can do. Not a problem.
Peanut butter and Pennywise.
I better.
Haley. Haley's in the office.
That's the best. And that dance.
I have no idea.
Poor Haley.
Just go down to you, and then if they say leaving, then come back and grab your stuff. All right.
That's my. Don't take my
Wait,
fingers.
Mr.
Don't take my
And his
fingers.
head doesn't move in that dance.
Yeah.
He's just like straight.
Wait, I have
I
one
covered
question.
my eyes once.
Good stuff. Me still going. More reading.
Wait.
Balloons. We're wonderful.
Wait,
We're
it's
all
funny,
right.
it's funny.
Oh.
Swiftly, she tore the paper and read a printed card in which were these words. The Minister of Education and Mrs. Rampon request the pleasure of the company of Mr. and Mrs. Loisel at the ministry on the evening of Monday, January the 18th. Instead of being delighted, as her husband hoped, she flung the invitation angrily across the table, murmuring, "What do you want me to do with this?" "Well, my darling, I thought you'd be pleased. You never go out. This is a great occasion. I went through tremendous trouble to get it. Everyone wants one. It's very rare, and very few go to the clerks. You'll see all the really important people there." She looked at him out of furious eyes and said impatiently, "And what do you suppose I'm to wear at such an affair?" He now thought about it. He stammered, the dress you go to the theater in? It looks very nice to me." He stopped, stupefied, utterly at a loss, when he saw that his wife was beginning to cry. 2 large tears ran slowly down from the corners of her eyes towards the corner of her mouth. "What's the matter with you?" he faltered. But with a violent effort, she overcame her grief and replied in a calm voice, wiping her wet cheeks, "Nothing. Only I haven't a dress, so I can't go to this party. Give your invitation to some friend of yours whose wife will be turned out better than I shall." Time out. He was heartbroken. So he comes home and brings a present. And what present does he bring for his wife? Invitation to
A people party.
some big fancy party. Because he knows that she always wants to be rich and hang out with richy people. He's like, "Guess what? I got you an invitation to richy rich party." And how does she respond? Gets mad at him and yells at him. He's like, "That's not the way I thought it was going to go at all." But at least she has a perfectly good reason. And what is her perfectly good reason?
She doesn't have a dress.
She was, "How dare you make me go to this party when I don't even have a dress to wear? You horrible, horrible man."
But she's a theater dress.
Cheeky?
It doesn't make any, like, I don't know, like, if this were this, why don't she just say, like, just sell the invitation and get a lot of money?
I'm not sure if you could, because I think it's just to their company thing. So it's like where all the top executives of the company go to, so I'm not sure you could sell that.
Who would want to buy that?
You could sell it to one
Very
of his
rare,
friends inside
but
the
just
house.
like, having dinner with or having lunch with Mr. Broviac is very rare, but you couldn't sell that to another student
That's
if you
if
got
like
to
in a
get
lunch
it.
detention.
That's different. I actually have students who get to eat lunch with me sometimes. We like sit, hang out, talk, and stuff
Are
like
those
that.
the kids that you
I know.
actually like?
I know. Yeah, the 2 of them, they exist, yeah. And so, but you
Can I
couldn't
go?
sell it to another person. But, so she definitely gets, ooh. Has this changed your opinion of her being good or bad? So we're going to say once again, if, even given this, you still say she's good, raise your hand. And now you say she's definitely bad. Right. Wow, that's all it took.
So grateful.
One girl throwing one fit, and you guys throw under a bus. All right.
I'm a terrible person and I've done that.
If it helps, we'll find out what happens
You've
next.
done something under a bus.
He was heartbroken. Look here, Matilda. What would be the cost of a suitable dress? One which you could use on other occasions as well. Something that was very simple. She thought for several seconds, reckoning up prices and also wondering for how large a sum she could ask without bringing upon herself an immediate refusal and an exclamation of horror from the careful-minded clerk. At last, she replied with some hesitation, "I don't know exactly. I think I could do it $400? He grew slightly, by the way, $400 just for a dress, just so you're aware. He grew slightly pale, for this was exactly the amount he'd been saving for a new gun, intending to do a little hunting next summer in the neighboring woods with some friends who went deer hunting there on Sundays. Nevertheless, he said, "Very well, I'll give you $400, but try and get a really nice dress with the money." So she gets the money. Where does the money come from? So he had been saving his money to buy a gun, and now he gives it to her for the dress. And of course, I'm sure now everything will go much better. He has made her happy, and now that she's happy, things will go much, much better. Although we're going to find out at the end, he probably should have kept the money and bought the gun and then used it. We'll find out more why in a little bit. Yes?
Is she gonna like take the money and then like pay for a super expensive dress that is $400 when really the dress that he wanted her to buy was like super cheapy weepy, and so she like buys designer brand one of the $100,000 dress.
Yes.
So is she going to abuse the money in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah, my red phone.
Good question. No, she does something completely different.
Oh, she
Well, wait,
pays for
wait a
them
minute, I
and
just
shoot.
realized something.
Okay.
The day of the party drew near, and Mrs. Loisel seemed sad, uneasy, anxious. Her dress was ready, however. One evening, her husband said to her, "What's the matter with you? You've been very odd the last 3 days." "I'm utterly miserable at not having any jewels, not a single stone to wear," she replied. "I shall look like absolutely no one. I would almost rather not go to the party." "Wear flowers," he said. "They're very attractive at this time of the year. For $10, you can get 2 or 3 gorgeous roses." She was not convinced. "No, there's nothing so humiliating as looking poor in the middle of a lot of rich women. By the way, what's our new issue?"
She's ungrateful because she has no
Dude,
She's still a good person.
You don't understand what it's like to be rich. She has rich people problems. Or at least she wants to have rich people problems.
She only has 2 Mercedes-Benz, not 1.
There's nothing so humiliating as looking poor in the middle of a lot of rich women. "How stupid you are!" exclaimed her husband. "Go and..." I know you got excited. He's going to lip off to her. No. "Go and see Mrs. Forestier and ask her to lend you some jewels. You know her quite well enough for that." That was her rich friend that she stopped seeing and hanging out with. She uttered a cry of delight. "That's true! I never thought of that!" And the next day, she went to see her friend and told her her trouble. Mrs. Forestier went to her dressing table, took up a large box, and brought it to Mrs. Loisel, opened it, and said, "Choose, my dear." First, she saw some bracelets, then a pearl necklace, then a Venetian cross in gold and gems of exquisite workmanship. She tried the effect of the jewels before the mirror, hesitating, unable to make up her mind, to leave them, to give them up. She kept on asking, "Haven't you anything else?" "Yes, look for yourself. I don't know what you would like best." Suddenly, she discovered in a black satin case a superb diamond necklace. Her heart began to beat covetously. Her hands trembled as she lifted it. She fastened it around her neck, upon her high dress, and stared in shocked wonder at the beautiful sight of herself. Then, with hesitation, she asked in anguish, Could you lend me this? Just this alone?" And there we'll stop. If it helps, we've not gotten to the fun part yet. That comes tomorrow.
That really wasn't that.
Your homework